The sight of Dennis Allen's exposed anatomy renders the Vidian delegation speechless. As the human diplomat's environmental suit malfunctions, parting to reveal glimpses of his distinctly male physiology, the assembled alien women freeze, their eyes wide with shock and barely concealed fascination. Dennis stands rigid, acutely aware of the sudden silence enveloping the formal greeting ceremony. The Vidian homeworld's twin suns beat down on the landing pad, their heat nothing compared to the burning embarrassment coursing through his veins. He'd prepared extensively for this crucial peace negotiation, but nothing could have readied him for such an uncompromising introduction. Lena, the lead Vidian negotiator, snaps out of her trance first. Her violet eyes dart nervously between Dennis and her stunned compatriots. "This way, Ambassador," she manages, her usually melodious voice strained. She grasps Dennis's arm, guiding him swiftly toward a nearby building. As they hurry across the landing pad, Dennis catches snippets of urgent whispers erupting behind them. The Vidian capital sprawls before him, a city of gleaming spires and swirling architecture that would normally captivate his attention. Now he barely notices it, his mind racing to salvage this diplomatic disaster. Inside a private chamber, Lena releases his arm and steps back, visibly flustered. "I apologize for the inconvenience, Ambassador. We'll have a technician examine your suit immediately." Dennis nods, struggling to maintain his composure. "Thank you, negotiator Lena. I assure you, this is not standard human greeting protocol." A ghost of a smile flickers across Lena's face before vanishing. She opens her mouth to respond but is interrupted by a commotion outside. Raised voices filter through the door, a cacophony of excitement and alarm. "It seems news travels fast," Dennis observes dryly. Lena's expression grows serious. "Ambassador, you must understand. My people have never... We've only seen images of human males. This incident will have significant repercussions." Dennis sighs, running a hand through his short hair. "I feared as much. The peace talks?" "The High Council is likely convening as we speak," Lena admits. "Some will push to end negotiations immediately. Others..." She trails off, her gaze dropping momentarily to Dennis's midsection, before snapping back up, a faint purple blush coloring her cheeks. Dennis processes this information, mind-spinning. Years of tension between Earth and the Vidians, cultural misunderstandings, resource disputes, narrowly avoided military confrontations, all hanging in the balance. And now, the fate of two species might hinge on an accidental glimpse of human anatomy. He straightens, decision made. "Negotiator Lena, we need to get ahead of this. Can you arrange an emergency audience with your High Council?" Lena blinks, surprised. "You wish to address them directly? In your current state?" Dennis manages a confident smile. "Sometimes, negotiator, the best way to dispel mystery is with openness. Besides," he adds, allowing a hint of humor to creep into his voice, "I believe I've already made quite the first impression." For a moment, Lena simply stares at him. Then slowly a smile spreads across her face. "Indeed you have, Ambassador Allen. Very well, I'll make the arrangements. It seems human diplomacy is full of unexpected strategies." As Lena steps out to communicate with the Council, Dennis takes a deep breath. He came here to bridge the gap between their species, to foster understanding where there had been fear and suspicion. It wasn't the method he'd planned, but perhaps this unintentional reveal could become a powerful tool for transparency and trust. One thing is certain. Human-Vidian relations are about to change dramatically. Dennis only hopes he can guide that change toward peace, rather than deeper conflict. With determination, he begins to prepare his address to the High Council, keenly aware that the future of two worlds may now rest on what lies between his legs. As Dennis prepares his address to the High Council, a gentle knock interrupts his thoughts. Lena enters, her expression a mixture of concern and urgency. "Ambassador, there's been a change of plans," she says. "The Council has requested you undergo a medical examination before the audience. It's standard procedure for off-world visitors." Dennis raises an eyebrow, suspecting there's more to this request than mere protocol. "Of course," he replies, straightening his still malfunctioning suit. "Lead the way." They exit the chamber and make their way through winding corridors, the architecture growing more clinical as they progress. Dennis notices an increase in foot traffic, Vidian females casting curious glances in his direction. He maintains a diplomatic smile, acutely aware of the whispers that follow in their wake. Upon reaching the medical facility, they're greeted by Dr. Zara, a Vidian female with striking violet eyes and iridescent skin. Her professional demeanor wavers slightly as she takes in Dennis's appearance. "Welcome, Ambassador," she says, her voice betraying a hint of excitement. "Please follow me." Inside a private examination room, Dr. Zara gestures to a sleek, alien medical bed. "If you could remove your suit and lie down, we'll begin the examination." Dennis complies, his movements deliberate as he sheds the malfunctioning garment. Dr. Zara's eyes widen, her hands trembling slightly as she activates a series of hovering scanners. As the examination progresses, Dr. Zara's fascination becomes increasingly apparent. Her questions, initially focused on general health, veer towards human reproductive biology. "And these testes," she says, the alien word clumsy on her tongue, "they produce your reproductive cells continuously?" Dennis nods, maintaining his composure. "That's correct. It's a key difference between human males and females." Dr. Zara's skin shimmers, a physical manifestation of her intrigue. "Fascinating. Our species' reproductive methods are quite different. This continuous production could have significant implications for—" She's interrupted by a commotion outside. Through the room's translucent walls, Dennis spots a growing crowd of Vidian females, their attention fixed on the examination room. Dr. Zara clears her throat, embarrassed. "My apologies, Ambassador. Word of your unique physiology has spread quickly." Before Dennis can respond, the door slides open, revealing a flustered Lena. Her eyes lock onto Dennis's exposed form, and her cheeks flush a deep shade of blue. She quickly averts her gaze, composing herself. "Ambassador Dr. Zara, my apologies for the interruption," Lena says, her voice strained. "There's been a significant development." She steps closer, lowering her voice. "The High Council has made a startling discovery in our ancient archives. There's a prophecy that speaks of a being from the stars, whose unique physical attributes would usher in a new era of prosperity for our people. The description, it matches human male anatomy precisely." Dennis sits up, his mind racing. "And how does this affect our negotiations?" Lena's expression softens. "It changes everything. The Council no longer views these talks as mere diplomacy. They believe you may be fulfilling a destined role in our society's future." Dr. Zara interjects, her scientific curiosity piqued. "This could explain the physiological compatibility my scans have revealed. Ambassador, your body's molecular structure resonates with our planet's core frequency in a way I've never seen before." Dennis processes this information, recognizing both the opportunity and the potential complications it presents. What does the Council propose? "They wish to honor the prophecy with a traditional ceremony," Lena explains. "It would be a powerful symbol of unity between our peoples." Dennis nods slowly. "I see. And what does this ceremony entail?" Lena hesitates, her gaze flickering momentarily to Dennis's midsection. "It's a series of ritual trials conducted in our sacred grove. The details are known only to our priestesses." Weighing his options, Dennis makes a decision. "If participating in this ceremony will help secure peace between our species, I'm willing to do it." Relief washes over Lena's face. "Thank you, Ambassador. I'll inform the Council immediately." As Lena departs, Dennis notices a shift in the atmosphere. The Vidian females he encounters on his way back to his quarters regard him with a new intensity, their body language more inviting, their gazes lingering. Night falls on the Vidian capital, and Dennis is led to the sacred grove. Bioluminescent flora casts an ethereal glow over the alien landscape, and the air is heavy with exotic scents. At the grove's entrance, a group of Vidian priestesses awaits, led by the High Priestess, Naira. Naira, tall and regal with flowing silver hair and cosmic eyes, steps forward. "Welcome, Ambassador Allen. Are you prepared to undergo the trials that will determine if you are indeed the one foretold by prophecy?" Dennis straightens, his purpose firm. "I am, High Priestess." Naira gestures to a shimmering pool nearby. The first trial involves a ritual bathing. This sacred liquid will reveal your true essence to our people. As Dennis approaches the pool, he's acutely aware of the dozens of Vidayan eyes upon him. The fate of two species may hang in the balance, hinging on what this alien liquid might reveal. Taking a deep breath, he steps into the glowing waters, the cool liquid enveloping him as he submerges himself in the unknown. As Dennis submerges himself in the glowing waters, a tingling sensation spreads across his skin. The liquid seems to come alive, swirling around him in mesmerizing patterns of light. He takes a deep breath, allowing the coolness to envelop him completely. The Vidian priestesses gather at the pool's edge, their eyes fixed on the spectacle before them. High Priestess Naira stands at the forefront, her cosmic eyes gleaming with anticipation. As Dennis moves through the sacred liquid, it begins to pulse with a soft rhythmic light that matches his heartbeat. Emerging from the pool, Dennis feels invigorated, his skin glistening with the bioluminescent fluid. He notices an immediate change in the atmosphere. The Vidian females surrounding him seem transfixed, their pupils dilating and breathing quickening. Lena and Dr. Zara, who have joined the ceremony, appear particularly affected, their gazes locked onto his form with an intensity that surpasses mere scientific curiosity. High Priestess Naira steps forward, her voice slightly strained as she declares, "The first trial is complete. You have passed, Ambassador Allen." She pauses, composing herself before continuing. "The second trial will test your strength and endurance." Dennis is led to a large circular platform adorned with intricate Vidian symbols. Naira explains, "You must complete a series of physical challenges while resisting increasing gravitational pull. This will demonstrate your worthiness as foretold in the prophecy." As Dennis begins the challenges, he becomes acutely aware of the Vidian female's rapt attention. Each feat of strength he performs, from lifting impossibly heavy objects to maintaining balance under extreme pressure, seems to heighten their fascination. Some of the younger priestesses, overwhelmed by the combination of Dennis's enhanced pheromones and display of physical prowess, have to be escorted away from the ceremony. The final challenge pushes Dennis to his limits as he resists gravity 5 times stronger than Earth's. His muscles strain and sweat beads on his brow, the bioluminescent liquid still clinging to his skin, accentuating every movement. Just as he's about to complete the trial, the platform malfunctions. The gravitational pull increases exponentially, threatening to crush him. In a moment of crisis, Lena springs into action. Without hesitation, she races towards the platform's control panel, her own safety disregarded. Her fingers fly over the alien interface, her knowledge of Vidian technology proving crucial. With a final decisive motion, she deactivates the platform, the crushing force dissipating instantly. Dennis collapses to his knees, gasping for air. Dr. Zara rushes to his side, her medical training taking over despite her visible attraction. As they help him to his feet, Dennis notices the shift in the Vidians' attention. Their eyes now dart between him and Lena, murmurs of admiration for her bravery rippling through the crowd. High Priestess Naira confers urgently with the other priestesses, their discussion hushed but intense. After several tense moments, she approaches Dennis, her expression solemn. "Ambassador Allen," Naira begins, her voice carrying across the now silent grove. "Due to the unforeseen malfunction, we cannot complete the traditional trials as intended." She pauses, her gaze intense. "However, the signs we have witnessed, your effect on our people, the platform's reaction to your presence, these cannot be ignored. We must devise a new trial, one that will test not just your physical attributes, but your compatibility with our species on a deeper, more intimate level." Dennis, still catching his breath and leaning slightly on Lena for support, nods slowly. "I understand, High Priestess. What does this new trial entail?" Naira's eyes flicker momentarily to the assembled Vidian females before returning to Dennis. "It will involve a select group of our females, chosen for their genetic diversity and social standing. This trial will explore the true nature of the connection between our species, as hinted at in the prophecy." As the implications of Naira's words sink in, a palpable tension fills the air. Lena and Dr. Zara exchange glances, a mix of curiosity and something more primal evident in their expressions. Other prominent Vidian females step forward, clearly vying for a chance to participate in this unprecedented event. Dennis, still somewhat disoriented from the previous challenges and the lingering effects of the bioluminescent liquid, finds himself agreeing to the trial without fully grasping its significance. "If this will help secure peace between our peoples, I'm willing to proceed," he states, his diplomatic training kicking in despite the unusual circumstances. As preparations for the new trial begin, Dennis is led away to rest and recover. The eyes of every Vidian female follow his departure, filled with a potent mixture of scientific fascination, cultural anticipation, and raw desire. The sacred grove, once a place of solemn ceremony, now buzzes with an energy that blurs the lines between diplomacy, biology, and ancient prophecy. In a private chamber adjacent to the grove, Dennis sits on a low, comfortable bench, attempting to process the events of the night. The bioluminescent liquid has mostly faded from his skin, but he can still feel its lingering effects, a heightened awareness of his surroundings, and a strange electric sensation coursing through his body. Lena enters the chamber, her usually composed demeanor slightly fractured. "Ambassador," she begins, her voice low and intense, "I hope you understand the magnitude of what you've agreed to. This trial, it goes beyond anything in our diplomatic protocols." Dennis looks up at her, noting the flush in her cheeks and the hardly restrained energy in her movements. "I'm beginning to realize that, Lena, but if it's what's needed to bridge the gap between our species, I'm committed to seeing it through." As Lena opens her mouth to respond, a soft chime interrupts them. The final trial is about to begin, and with it, the future of human-Vidian relations hangs in the balance. Balance. Dennis takes a deep breath, steeling himself for what's to come. As he's led from the grove to a private chamber, the air seems to thicken with tension. The bioluminescent plants lining the path pulse with an otherworldly glow, casting shifting shadows that dance across the alien landscape. Dennis can feel the weight of countless Vidian gazes upon him, a mix of curiosity, reverence, and something more primal. The chamber itself is a marvel of alien architecture, its walls curving organically and adorned with intricate swirling patterns that seem to move in the corner of his eye. Soft, alien fabrics drape from the ceiling, creating an intimate atmosphere that only heightens Dennis's growing sense of anticipation. No sooner has he settled onto a low-cushioned platform than a team of Vidian attendants enters. Their movements are graceful, but slightly hurried, betraying an underlying excitement. "Ambassador Allen," one of them speaks, her voice melodious yet tinged with nervousness. "We must prepare you for the final trial. This involves a ceremonial massage using our most sacred oils. It will help you relax and attune to the Vidian energy." Dennis nods, his diplomatic training kicking in despite the unusual circumstances. "I understand. Please proceed." As the attendants begin their work, their hands moving with practiced precision, Dennis can't help but notice the way their breath quickens, the slight tremor in their touch. The oils they use have a subtle, intoxicating scent, floral yet musky, unlike anything on Earth. At first, the sensation is pleasant, soothing his tired muscles. But as the massage continues, something changes. A warmth begins to spread through his body, starting from where the oils touch his skin and radiating outward. His senses sharpen, every touch becoming electric, every scent more potent. Dennis's breath catches in his throat as a wave of intense arousal washes over him. His skin feels hypersensitive, his pulse racing. He looks up at the attendants, confused by the sudden intensity of his reaction, only to see them staring back with wide eyes and flushed cheeks. One of the attendants stumbles back, her hand covering her mouth. "By the cosmic void," she gasps, "the oils, they're affecting him far more strongly than anticipated." Another attendant rushes to a communication panel on the wall, her fingers shaking as she activates it. "High Priestess Niera," she says urgently, "we need you here immediately. The ambassador's reaction to the sacred oils, it's unprecedented." As the attendants hurry out of the room, clearly overwhelmed by whatever is happening, Dennis is left alone with his rapidly intensifying condition. Every breath sends shivers down his spine, every movement causing friction that only heightens his arousal. He can feel his heart pounding, blood rushing in his ears, and an energy unlike anything he's ever experienced coursing through his veins. Outside the chamber, chaos erupts. News of Dennis's condition spreads like wildfire through the sacred grove and beyond. Vidayan females begin to gather in increasing numbers, drawn by an instinctual pull they can't explain. Security forces struggle to maintain order as the crowd grows more restless, some attempting to push past the barriers. Inside the grove, a heated debate rages among the Vidayan leadership. Lena, her usual composure slipping, argues passionately for her inclusion in the trial. As lead negotiator, I have the deepest understanding of human culture and diplomacy. My participation is crucial to maintaining the integrity of our negotiations. Dr. Zara counters with her own case, her skin shimmering with excitement. My medical expertise and knowledge of human physiology make me the ideal candidate. We must consider the scientific implications of this encounter. High Priestess Naira, her cosmic eyes flashing, asserts her own claim. The prophecy speaks through me. As High Priestess, my spiritual connection is essential to fulfilling its words. Their debate is interrupted by an urgent message from the preparation chamber. Dr. Zara's eyes widen as she listens to the report. The oils, she gasps, combined with the earlier bioluminescent bath, they've created an unprecedented reaction in the ambassador's body. His pheromone production has increased exponentially. Naira's expression grows grave. We must act quickly. This situation could spiral out of control if we don't proceed with the trial immediately. Lena, sensing the urgency of the moment, volunteers to check on Dennis. I'll assess his condition, she says, her voice steady despite the flush creeping up her neck. My diplomatic training will allow me to maintain objectivity. As Lena enters the chamber, she's immediately struck by the concentrated pheromones. The air feels thick, charged with an energy that makes her skin tingle. She approaches Dennis, her body trembling with each step. Dennis looks up as Lena enters, his eyes dark with an intensity that makes her breath catch. Lena, he says, his voice low and strained. What's happening to me? Lena struggles to maintain her composure, her own body responding powerfully to his presence. The oils, she manages to say, her voice barely above a whisper, they've had an unexpected effect. Your pheromones, they're overwhelming. As they stand there, the air between them, charged with tension, Lena knows she needs to act fast. With trembling fingers, she activates her communication device. Dr. Zara, High Priestess Naira, she says urgently, we need to begin the trial immediately. The situation is intensifying. Outside, the Vidayan capital descends into barely controlled chaos. The pheromone effect begins to spread beyond the grove, affecting Vidayan females across the city. The High Council, recognizing the potential for social upheaval, declares a state of emergency. As night fully descends on the Vidayan world, Dennis and Lena remain in the chamber, their mutual attraction growing stronger by the moment. The fate of human-Vidayan relations hangs in the balance, with the impending intimate encounter now carrying even greater significance than anyone could have anticipated. The air in the chamber crackles with tension, thick with pheromones and the weight of impending intimacy. Suddenly, the door bursts open, revealing a breathless Dr. Zara. We need to move now, she exclaims, her eyes wide with urgency. The High Council has ordered an immediate relocation. Dennis, still reeling from the effects of the oils, stumbles to his feet. Lena steadies him, her touch sending sparks through both their bodies. What's happening? He manages to ask, his voice husky. Dr. Zara begins ushering them out of the chamber. Your pheromones are affecting the entire city. We're moving to a secure facility to contain the situation. As they emerge from the chamber, Dennis is struck by the chaos unfolding around them. Vidayan females crowd the corridors, their eyes locked onto him with an intensity that's both thrilling and terrifying. Security forces struggle to maintain a perimeter, their voices raised as they shout orders. High Priestess Naira appears, her cosmic eyes flashing with grit. This way, she commands, leading them down a hidden passage. The small group moves swiftly through the twisting corridors, the sounds of the growing unrest fading behind them. Dennis feels as if he's in a dream, his heightened senses making every touch, every smell, every sound almost unbearably intense. They emerge into the cool night air, where a sleek Vidian transport awaits. As they board, Dennis catches glimpses of the city below. Crowds fill the streets, their movements frenzied and purposeful. In the distance, he hears the wail of sirens. The transport lifts off, its engines humming softly as it cuts through the night sky. Inside, the air is thick with tension and unspoken desire. Dennis finds himself seated between Lena and Dr. Zara, acutely aware of their proximity. 3 other high-ranking Vidian females sit across from them, their gazes flicking between Dennis and the floor, as if afraid to make eye contact. High Priestess Naira breaks the silence. "We're heading to an underground complex," she explains, her voice steady despite the obvious strain in her posture. "It's a secure facility where we can conduct the trial without interference." The journey passes in a blur of suppressed tension and stolen glances. Dennis feels as if his skin is on fire, every movement sending waves of sensation through his body. He can see the effect he's having on the Vidian females, their breathing shallow, their skin flushed with a soft, bioluminescent glow. After what seems like an eternity, the transport begins to descend. Through the viewports, Dennis sees they're approaching a nondescript mountain range. As they draw closer, a hidden hangar opens in the mountainside, swallowing the transport whole. They disembark into a vast cavern, its walls lined with pulsating crystals that cast an ethereal light. A team of Vidian technicians awaits them, their movements efficient but tinged with an underlying nervousness. Dr. Zar leads the way, guiding them through a series of airlocks and decontamination chambers. With each sealed door, the air becomes clearer, the overwhelming scent of pheromones diminishing slightly. Finally, they enter the main chamber of the complex. Dennis's breath catches in his throat at the sight. The room is a marvel of alien architecture, its organic curves adorned with swirling patterns that seem to move in the corner of his eye. At the center stands a large circular platform covered in shimmering, otherworldly fabrics. High Priestess Naira steps forward, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "This sacred chamber will be the site of our intimate trial," she announces, her tone a mixture of reverence and terrifying excitement. "Each of us will interact with Ambassador Allen individually, allowing for a comprehensive assessment of human Vidian compatibility." As Naira explains the ritual that will determine the order of interactions, Dennis feels a wave of anticipation wash over him. The reality of what's about to happen hits him fully, sending a shiver down his spine. Lena's name is called first. As she steps onto the central platform, Dennis feels an almost magnetic pull towards her. Their eyes lock, and the rest of the world seems to fade away. As they come together, their first tentative touches send shockwaves through the room. The biomonitoring systems lining the walls spring to life, screens filling with rapidly changing data. Dr. Zara, forcing herself to focus on the scientific aspects, gasps at the readings. "This is unprecedented," she murmurs, her voice filled with awe. As Dennis and Lena's interaction intensifies, the chamber itself seems to respond. The bioluminescent crystals pulse in sync with their movements, casting shifting patterns of light across their intertwined forms. The other Vidian females watch with rapt attention, their own bodies reacting involuntarily to the charged atmosphere. Unnoticed by the entranced participants, a faint vibration begins to emanate from deep within the complex. As each Vidian female takes her turn with Dennis, the vibration grows stronger, resonating with the crystalline structures throughout the chamber. By the time High Priestess Naira, the final participant, approaches Dennis, the entire complex is thrumming with energy. As their interaction reaches its peak, a blinding light suddenly erupts from beneath the central platform, engulfing everyone in the room. Dennis feels as if he's being torn apart and reassembled at the molecular level. His mind expands, filling with visions of ancient Vidian cities, glimpses of possible futures where humans and Vidians stand united among the stars. He can feel the minds of the Vidian females intertwining with his own, forming a connection that transcends physical boundaries. As abruptly as it began, the light fades. Dennis finds himself on his knees, gasping for breath. Around him, the Vidian females are in similar states of shock and disorientation. But something has changed. He can feel their presence in his mind, a constant comforting hum of shared consciousness. Before anyone can process what's happened, alarms begin to blare throughout the complex. The floor beneath them trembles, small fissures appearing in the once smooth surface. Dr. Zara, shaking off her daze, rushes to a nearby console. Her eyes widen in horror as she reads the display. "The artifact's activation has triggered seismic activity," she shouts over the din of the alarms. "The entire complex is becoming unstable." As if to emphasize her words, a large chunk of the ceiling crashes to the floor, mere feet from where they stand. The group scrambles to their feet, the newfound mental link allowing them to move with uncanny coordination. "We need to get to the surface," Lena calls out, already moving towards the exit. The others follow, their minds working in concert to navigate the crumbling facility. As they race through the collapsing tunnels, Dennis realizes that their intimate encounter has set in motion events far beyond anything they could have imagined. The future of human-Vidian relations has been irrevocably altered, and the true challenge now lies in surviving long enough to see that future unfold. The true challenge now lies in surviving long enough to see that future. As the tremors intensify, the urgency of their situation becomes painfully clear. Dennis locks eyes with Lena, their newfound mental link pulsing with shared persistence. Without a word, they spring into action, leading the group towards the exit. The complex groans around them, chunks of ceiling raining down as they navigate the crumbling corridors. Dennis, drawing on a wellspring of strength he didn't know he possessed, takes point. His muscles strain as he heaves aside fallen debris, clearing a path for the Vidian females behind him. "This way!" he calls out, his voice steady despite the chaos. The mental link hums with approval and gratitude from his companions. As they round a corner, Dr. Zara skids to a halt, her eyes wide with recognition. "Wait!" she exclaims, gesturing to a heavy door set into the wall. "That's the artifact vault." High Priestess Naira's voice cuts through the rumbling. "We can't stop. The entire complex is coming down around us." But Dennis can feel the weight of history pressing on Dr. Zara's mind. In a split-second decision, he nods. "We'll make it quick. Lena, help me with the door." Together they wrench the vault open. Inside, shelves lined with glowing artifacts cast an eerie light across the chamber. Dr. Zara darts in, her movements precise as she selects key items. Dennis and Lena flank her, their bodies moving in perfect sync as they gather the precious relics. "That's enough," Lena says firmly, sensing the growing instability through their shared link. They retreat from the vault just as a massive tremor sends cracks spiderwebbing across its ceiling. The group presses on, their progress slowed by the weight of the artifacts, but driven by the mounting danger. Dennis can feel the strain in every muscle, but he pushes through, buoyed by the collective will of his companions. Finally, they emerge into the vast hangar where their journey began. The transport that brought them lies crushed beneath a fallen support beam. Dennis's heart sinks, but he doesn't allow despair to take hold. "The emergency exit," Dr. Zara pants, pointing to a narrow passage on the far side of the cavern. They make a mad dash across the unstable floor, leaping over widening fissures. As they reach the passage, a deafening crack echoes through the hangar. Dennis turns to see a massive section of the ceiling give way. Without thinking, he throws himself back, using his body to shield Lena and the others from the falling debris. Pain explodes across his back, but the mental link floods with concern and support, somehow dulling the worst of it. Gritting his teeth, Dennis pushes himself up. "I'm okay," he manages, though his voice is strained. "Keep moving." They ascend through the narrow passage, the air growing fresher with each step. Just as Dennis thinks his legs might give out, they burst into the open air of the Vidian night. But their relief is short-lived. The scene before them is one of utter chaos. The pheromone-induced frenzy has spread far beyond the sacred grove. Thousands of Vidian females fill the streets, their movements frantic and purposeless. In the distance, the wail of sirens cuts through the din of the crowd. "By the cosmic spirits," High Priestess Naira breathes, her eyes wide with shock. Before they can formulate a plan, the crowd spots them. A ripple of recognition passes through the sea of Vidian females, and suddenly they're surging forward, drawn by the lingering effects of Dennis's enhanced pheromones. "Stay together," Lena shouts, but it's too late. The sheer force of the crowd separates them, sweeping Dennis away from his companions. Panic threatens to overwhelm him, but Dennis forces himself to focus. He can still feel the others through their mental link, a thin tether connecting them across the chaos. Drawing on this connection, he begins to navigate through the crowd, using subtle releases of pheromones to create small openings. Meanwhile, Lena takes charge of the situation. Finding herself atop a fallen statue, she raises her voice to address the frenzied Vidians. "Citizens of Vidia," she calls out, her words carrying the weight of her diplomatic training and newfound authority. "Hear me!" To her surprise and relief, the crowd begins to still, their attention drawn to her commanding presence. Lena seizes the moment, explaining the events that have transpired in broad strokes, emphasizing the positive aspects of human-Vidian compatibility discovered during the trial. As she speaks, High Priestess Naira joins her, adding her spiritual gravitas to Lena's words. Recognizing the need to channel the crowd's energy, Naira begins to lead them in an impromptu ritual, her movements graceful and purposeful. The effect is immediate and stunning. The frenzy begins to dissipate, replaced by a sense of awe and unity. The Vidians move in sync with Naira's guidance, their bodies swaying in complex patterns that mimic the resonance experienced during the artifact's activation. Dennis, still making his way through the crowd, feels the shift in energy. The press of bodies around him becomes less urgent, more reverent. As he nears his companions, he notices something extraordinary happening with the salvaged artifacts. The ancient relics are pulsing with light, their rhythms perfectly matched to the movements of the crowd. Dr. Zara, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear, begins to examine them closely. Finally reuniting with the others, Dennis feels the mental link between them surge back to full strength. A visible aura of energy surrounds the group, casting a soft glow that spreads outward into the crowd. The Vidians nearest to them gasp in wonder, their eyes wide as they witness this manifestation of interspecies connection. The frenzy that had gripped the city begins to transform into something else entirely, a shared moment of transcendence and possibility. As the first light of dawn breaks over the Vidian capital, Dennis and his companions stand before the now calm crowd, their bodies still thrumming with the energy of their shared experience. The artifacts pulse in their hands, hinting at untapped potential and ancient secrets yet to be uncovered. In this moment of relative peace, Dennis becomes acutely aware of the challenges that lie ahead. The implications of their enhanced biology, the activation of ancient technology, and the unprecedented mental link between species are just the beginning. As he looks out over the sea of Vidian faces, now filled with hope and curiosity rather than blind desire, he knows that the real work of forging a new future between humans and Vidians is only just beginning. As dawn's first light bathes the Vidian capital, the frenzied energy of the night gives way to a tense calm. Dennis and his companions stand before the crowd, their bodies still humming with the residual energy of their shared experience. The pulsing artifacts in their hands cast an ethereal glow over the scene, a tangible reminder of the extraordinary events that have transpired. Suddenly, the whine of approaching vehicles cuts through the air. A convoy of sleek silver transports bearing the insignia of the Vidian High Council emerges from the city's winding streets. The crowd parts, murmuring in a mix of awe and apprehension as the vehicles come to a stop before Dennis and his group. A tall, imposing Vidian female steps out of the lead transport. Her elaborate headdress and ornate robes mark her as a member of the High Council. She surveys the scene with piercing eyes before addressing the group. "I am Counselor Thera," she announces, her voice carrying effortlessly across the square. "By decree of the High Council, this area is now under quarantine. All present are to be escorted to a secure facility for immediate evaluation." Dennis feels a surge of anxiety through the mental link he shares with Lena and the others. He steps forward, intending to speak, but Lena's hand on his arm stops him. Through their connection, he understands her unspoken message. Now is not the time for resistance. As they're ushered into the transports, Dennis catches glimpses of the city around them. The streets are a mix of chaos and order. Some areas show signs of the night's frenzy, while others are eerily empty. Vidian security forces stand at major intersections, their posture tense and alert. The journey to the outskirts of the city is swift and silent. They arrive at a sprawling complex surrounded by high walls and energy barriers. As they disembark, Dennis notices the sign above the main entrance, Vidian Institute for Xenobiological Research. Inside, they're greeted by a team of Vidian scientists led by a striking female with vibrant blue markings along her neck. "I am Dr. Kira," she introduces herself, her eyes gleaming with almost unchecked excitement. "We have much to learn from you all." The next hours pass in a whirlwind of tests and examinations. Dennis finds himself in a sterile lab, his body connected to an array of unfamiliar devices. Dr. Kira and her team work with focused intensity, their movements precise and efficient. "Fascinating," Dr. Kira murmurs, studying a holographic display of Dennis's neural activity. "The integration of human and Vidian patterns is unlike anything we've ever seen." As the tests continue, Dennis becomes aware of a growing commotion outside the lab. Through the mental link, he senses a mix of fear, curiosity, and something else, a fervent, almost religious excitement. Dr. Zara, who has been assisting the Vidian scientists, approaches Dennis with a concerned expression. "There's something you need to see," she says, leading him to a window overlooking the facility's entrance. Outside, a crowd has gathered. Vidian females of all ages press against the security barriers, their faces a mix of hope and desperation. Many hold signs with unfamiliar symbols, while others chant in the Vidian language. "They're calling you the Catalyst," Dr. Zara explains, her voice low. "There's an ancient prophecy about a being from the stars who would awaken hidden potential in the Vidian people. Some believe you're the fulfillment of that prophecy." Before Dennis can process this information, an alarm blares through the facility. Dr. Kira rushes into the room, her usual composure shaken. "We have a situation," she announces. "The artifacts you brought from the underground complex. They're reacting to something. You need to come see this immediately." They hurry to a secure vault where the salvaged artifacts are being stored. As they enter, Dennis gasps. The relics are floating in midair, pulsing with an intense light that seems to reach out towards him and the Vidian females who participated in the intimate trial. Dr. Zara steps forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "It's as if they're trying to communicate," she breathes, reaching out towards the nearest artifact. Suddenly, the mental link between Dennis and the Vidians flares with an intensity that nearly brings them to their knees. Images flood their shared consciousness, glimpses of ancient Vidian cities, strange technologies, and a looming threat from the stars. As the vision fades, they find themselves on the floor of the vault, gasping for breath. Dr. Kira helps Dennis to his feet, her expression a mix of concern and terrifying excitement. "What just happened?" Dennis manages to ask, his head still spinning from the experience. Before anyone can answer, a young Vidian scientist bursts into the room. "Dr. Kira," he pants, "you need to see this. Our long-range sensors have detected something entering the system." Dr. Kira's eyes widen. "What is it?" she demands. The young scientist swallows hard before responding. "It's a fleet of ships, Doctor, and they're not Vidian. They're coming from the direction of Earth." The room falls silent as the implications of this news sink in. Dennis feels a cold knot of dread forming in his stomach. He turns to Lena, their mental link buzzing with shared anxiety. "We need to do something," he says, his voice low and urgent. "If those ships arrive before we can explain what's happened here..." Lena nods, her diplomatic training kicking in. "We need to contact the High Council immediately, and we need a plan to present to both sides." As they begin to formulate a strategy, Dennis can't shake the feeling that they're running out of time. The artifacts continue to pulse behind them, a reminder of the ancient forces at play. Outside, the crowd of fervent Vidians grows larger by the minute. With the Earth fleet approaching and tensions rising on Vidia, Dennis realizes that the next few hours will determine not just his fate, but potentially the future of human-Vidian relations, and perhaps the destiny of both species. Species alike. Time was running out. Dennis turned to Lena, their mental link buzzing with shared willpower. "We need to act now," he said, his voice low and urgent. "If we can demonstrate the unity between humans and Vidians, maybe we can prevent a catastrophe." Lena nodded, her diplomatic instincts kicking in. The sacred grove, she said. It's where this all started. If we can channel the energy of the artifacts there, we might be able to create a powerful enough display to catch the attention of both the Earth Fleet and the Vidian High Council. They quickly gathered Dr. Zara, High Priestess Naira, and the other Vidian participants who had been part of the intimate trial. As they made their way to the sacred grove, Dennis could feel the tension in the air, the city around them a mix of eerie calm and barely held-back chaos. The salvaged artifacts were brought to the grove, their pulsing energy seeming to intensify as they neared the ancient site. Dennis and the others formed a circle around the relics, instinctively reaching out to one another. "Focus on our shared experiences," High Priestess Naira instructed, her voice carrying a note of reverence. "Let the energy flow through our connection." As they concentrated, Dennis felt the mental link between them strengthen, becoming a tangible force that seemed to ripple through the air. The artifacts began to glow brighter, their pulsing rhythm syncing with the group's shared consciousness. Suddenly, a beam of energy shot upward from the circle, piercing the sky. It expanded outward, forming a massive holographic display visible from both the planet's surface and space. Dennis gasped as he saw images flashing across the ethereal screen. Scenes from the intimate trial, the subsequent physiological changes, and visions of a shared future between humans and Vidians. In orbit, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes wide as she took in the unexpected spectacle before her. "All ships, maintain position," she ordered, her voice tense. "We need to assess this situation before taking any action." On the planet's surface, Counselor Thara of the Vidian High Council watched the display with a mix of awe and apprehension. She turned to her fellow council members. "We must seize this opportunity for peaceful contact," she declared. "Prepare a delegation immediately. Counselor Vex, you will lead." As the diplomatic wheels began to turn in orbit, something unexpected was happening on the planet below. Dr. Kira, monitoring the situation from her research facility, noticed a startling trend in her data. "This can't be right," she muttered, double-checking the readings. But there was no mistake. Vidian females across the planet were experiencing rapid physiological changes, their bodies becoming more compatible with human genetics. In the sacred grove, Dennis and Lena became aware of a shift in their shared mental link. It was expanding, reaching beyond their small group to encompass more and more Vidians. They could feel the confusion, fear, and wonder of thousands, then millions of minds joining their collective consciousness. "What's happening?" Dr. Zara asked, her scientific curiosity warring with her growing alarm. Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The artifacts at the center of their circle rose into the air, their glow intensifying to a blinding brilliance. With a sound like thunder, the earth split open, revealing a massive structure rising from the depths. "By the cosmic spirits," High Priestess Naira breathed, "the ancient bioengineering facility, it's awakening." As the facility emerged, its systems whirring to life after eons of dormancy, Dennis felt a surge of energy course through him. He turned to Lena, only to find that their bodies were beginning to change, their cells merging and reforming into something new, a perfect blend of human and Vidian. The transformation sent shockwaves of energy across the planet, accelerating the biological changes already taking place in the Vidian population. In her lab, Dr. Kira watched in astonishment as her sensors registered a planet-wide surge in Vidian fertility rates. In orbit, Admiral Chen received urgent reports from her science officers. "Admiral," one of them said, his voice shaking slightly, "we're detecting massive biological and atmospheric changes on the planet. It appears to be some kind of terraforming process." Chen's mind raced as she weighed her options. The situation was unprecedented, potentially dangerous, but also filled with incredible potential. As she prepared to make her decision, a communication came through from the Vidian delegation led by Counselor Vex. On the planet's surface, Dennis and Lena, now a hybrid entity embodying both species, stood at the center of a maelstrom of energy and change. Through their expanded mental link, they could feel the fear and excitement rippling through the Vidian population as their world transformed around them. Dr. Zara and her team worked feverishly to understand the rapid evolution taking place. The hybrid DNA, she exclaimed, studying the readings from Dennis and Lena's merged form. It's the key to stabilizing the transformation. As the terraforming process neared its completion, the Vidian world had become a planet capable of supporting both human and Vidian life. The ancient facility hummed with power, its purpose fulfilled after countless millennia of waiting. In orbit, Admiral Chen stood face-to-face with Counselor Vex, both leaders acutely aware that the decisions they made in the next few moments would shape the future of their species. The transformed planet hung in the viewport between them, a vibrant symbol of the changes they now faced. "Admiral," Vex began, his voice steady despite the momentous nature of their meeting, "what has happened here today goes beyond any protocol or treaty. We stand at the threshold of a new era for both our peoples." Chen nodded, her expression grave. "Indeed we do, Counselor. The question is, do we step through that threshold together, or do we retreat from it in fear?" As they began their negotiations, Dennis and Lena, still merged, felt the weight of two civilizations' futures resting upon the outcome. The planet around them continued to change, adapting to its new hybrid nature, while in orbit, the fates of humans and Vidians hung in the balance. Balance as the two leaders continued their discussion. Suddenly, a surge of energy pulsed through the planet, emanating from the sacred grove where Dennis and Lena stood in their merged form. The energy wave washed over the Vidian world, accelerating the already rapid changes taking place. In cities and rural areas alike, Vidian females felt a strange tingling sensation as their bodies began to transform at an unprecedented rate. Dr. Kira, still monitoring the situation from her lab, gasped as her instruments registered the sudden spike in activity. "The changes are spreading exponentially," she muttered, her eyes wide as she watched the data stream across her screens. "It's affecting the entire population." In the sacred grove, the hybrid form of Dennis and Lena pulsed with an otherworldly light. The ancient bioengineering facility, now fully awakened, began to produce a shimmering mist that spread through the atmosphere. This ethereal substance, born from the fusion of advanced Vidian technology and human DNA, acted as a catalyst for further biological alterations. Admiral Chen, observing the rapidly evolving situation from her flagship, made a decision that would alter the course of human-Vidian relations forever. "Prepare a landing party," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We need eyes on the ground." Commander John Foster, a seasoned xenobiologist, led the small team that descended to the planet's surface. As their shuttle touched down near the sacred grove, Foster couldn't help but marvel at the transformed landscape. The very air seemed to shimmer with potential. Dr. Zara, accompanied by a group of Vidian scientists, approached the human landing party. Her eyes, now a striking blend of Vidian and human features, regarded the newcomers with a mix of caution and excitement. "Welcome to Vidia," she said, her voice carrying a hint of the transformation she had undergone. "I'm Dr. Zara. I believe we have much to discuss." Commander Foster nodded, his scientific curiosity overriding his initial apprehension. "Indeed we do, Doctor. Can you explain what's happening here?" As Dr. Zara began to outline the recent events, Foster's team spread out, taking readings and observing the changes in the environment. One of the human scientists gasped as she noticed her own skin beginning to take on a faint Vidian hue. In the Vidian capital, the High Council convened an emergency session. Counselor Vex, his normally composed demeanor showing signs of strain, addressed his colleagues. "Esteemed members of the Council," he began, his voice echoing through the grand chamber. "We face an unprecedented situation. Our people are changing, merging with human biology in ways we never thought possible. We must decide how to proceed." The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some expressing fear and outrage, others seeing opportunity in this radical transformation. Back at the sacred grove, the merged form of Dennis and Lena began to separate. As the light surrounding them faded, two distinct but fundamentally altered individuals emerged. Dennis blinked, his new hybrid eyes adjusting to the world around him. He turned to Lena, marveling at her transformed appearance, a perfect blend of human and Vidian features. "Lena," he breathed, reaching out to touch her face. "Are you all right?" She nodded, a smile playing on her lips. I feel incredible, she said, her voice carrying a new resonance. It's like I can sense everything around us with such clarity. As news of the transformation spread across the planet, the initial fear and uncertainty among the Vidian population began to shift. In city squares and communal gathering places, impromptu celebrations broke out as Vidians embraced the possibilities of their new hybrid nature. Dr. Zara led Commander Foster and his team to the ancient bioengineering facility. As they entered the massive structure, Foster's eyes widened at the sight of the pulsing artifacts, still emanating waves of transformative energy. These artifacts, Dr. Zara explained, her voice filled with awe, they're part of a vast network left behind by our ancestors. We believe they hold the key to terraforming and genetic engineering on a scale we've never imagined. Foster nodded, his mind racing with the implications. This technology could solve resource scarcity, environmental issues. It could change everything for both our species. As the initial wave of transformations began to stabilize, a new challenge emerged. Dennis and Lena, along with the newly transformed Vidians, found their hybrid physiology required a delicate balance of nutrients and environmental conditions not naturally found on either Earth or Vidia. Dr. Kira, emerging from her lab with new data, approached the group gathered at the ancient facility. We need to act quickly, she said, her voice urgent. The hybrid population requires a sustainable environment. We'll need to work together to create it. Admiral Chen, having received reports from Commander Foster's team and consulted with Earth's leadership, made her way to the surface. As she stepped out of her shuttle, she took in the transformed landscape and the mixed group of humans and Vidians working together. Commander Foster, she called, striding towards the group. I've made a decision. I'm proposing a joint human-Vidian mission to explore the full capabilities of this ancient technology. It's time we forged a true alliance between our worlds. As preparations for this unprecedented joint mission began, Dennis and Lena found themselves at the center of growing attention. Scientists from both species sought them out, eager to study the first human-Vidian hybrids. The Vidian capital, once in chaos, now buzzed with a new energy as humans and Vidians worked side by side. The sacred grove, still emanating waves of transformative energy, became a pilgrimage site for those seeking to embrace their new hybrid nature. As the sun set on this momentous day, Dennis and Lena stood at the entrance of the ancient facility, watching the mixed crowd of humans and Vidians. The air shimmered with the mysterious mist, a constant reminder of the changes they had undergone and the challenges that lay ahead. What happens now? Lena asked, her hand intertwined with Dennis's. Dennis squeezed her hand, his hybrid eyes scanning the horizon. Now, he said, we explore this new world we've created, together. Together, Dennis and Lena walked hand in hand towards the ancient bioengineering facility. Their hybrid forms a testament to the unprecedented changes sweeping across the Vidian world. As they approached the entrance, they were greeted by a mixed team of human and Vidian scientists, their faces alight with excitement and curiosity. Dennis, Lena, Dr. Zara called out, her voice carrying a new resonance that seemed to harmonize with the hum of the facility. We're ready to begin the next phase of our exploration. Your unique physiology may be the key to unlocking the facility's deepest secrets. Commander Foster nodded in agreement, his eyes scanning the assembled team. We've assembled the best minds from both our worlds. It's time to see what this ancient technology can really do. As they entered the facility, Dennis felt a subtle shift in the air, as if the very molecules around them were responding to their presence. The walls seemed to pulse with an inner light, growing brighter as they moved deeper into the complex. It's like the facility recognizes us, Lena whispered, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns etched into the walls. Dr. Kira, who had joined the team, approached with a handheld scanner. The energy signatures are off the charts, she reported, her voice filled with awe. It's as if the entire system is coming alive. As they reached a central chamber, Dennis and Lena found themselves drawn to a raised platform at its center. As they stepped onto it, holographic displays burst to life around them, filling the air with swirling data streams and complex schematics. Incredible, Commander Foster breathed, watching as Dennis and Lena instinctively began to interact with the system. Their hybrid physiology is allowing them to interface directly with the technology. For hours, Dennis and Lena worked in tandem, their minds seeming to merge with the ancient system. They uncovered layer upon layer of information, each revelation more astounding than the last. "We've found something," Dennis called out, his voice tinged with excitement. "A database? It's massive. It contains the entire genetic history of the Vidian species." Dr. Zara rushed forward, her eyes wide. "This could revolutionize our understanding of Vidian biology," she exclaimed. "Look here, information about our ancestors. They possessed abilities we've long since lost." As the team pored over the data, a picture began to emerge of an ancient Vidian civilization far more advanced than anyone had imagined. They had possessed the ability to adapt their biology to various environments, a trait that had been lost over millennia of evolutionary stagnation. Inspired by this revelation, Dr. Zara and Commander Foster huddled together, their minds racing with possibilities. "If we could reactivate this dormant genetic potential," Foster mused, "and combine it with human genetic diversity, we could create a new hybrid species," Dr. Zara finished, her voice filled with wonder, "one capable of thriving in a wide range of environments." As work on this ambitious project began, the effects of the ongoing transformation continued to spread across the Vidian planet. The shimmering mist produced by the bioengineering facility began to alter the ecosystem, creating new hybrid plant and animal species that exhibited characteristics of both Earth and Vidian lifeforms. In the capital city, the Vidian High Council convened an emergency session to discuss these rapid changes. Councillor Vex, his features now a striking blend of Vidian and human characteristics, addressed his colleagues. "Esteemed members of the council," he began, his voice carrying through the grand chamber, "the transformations we are witnessing offer unprecedented opportunities for our people. I propose we officially sanction the continuation of the hybridization process." After hours of heated debate, the council voted to approve Vex's proposal. They established a program to monitor and guide the transformation, ensuring that it proceeded in a controlled and beneficial manner. Meanwhile, in orbit around the Vidian world, Admiral Chen received a transmission from Earth. Her eyes widened as she read the contents of the message. "Commander Foster," she called over the comm link, "Earth has made a decision. They're sending colony ships. Thousands of human volunteers are on their way to participate in this new chapter of interspecies cooperation." As the first wave of colonists began to arrive, Dennis and Lena found themselves thrust into new roles as ambassadors. Their unique perspective allowed them to bridge cultural gaps and foster understanding between humans and Vidians. "Welcome to your new home," Dennis greeted a group of wide-eyed colonists as they disembarked from their shuttle. "Things might seem strange at first, but trust me, the changes you'll experience are nothing short of amazing." Lena nodded in agreement, her hybrid features drawing curious looks from the newcomers. "You're about to become part of something truly extraordinary," she added. "A new civilization, born from the best of both our worlds." As the colonists settled in, many began to experience subtle physiological changes due to exposure to the hybrid environment. The shimmering mist that permeated the air seemed to accelerate these transformations, creating a new generation of human Vidian hybrids. Back at the ancient facility, Dennis and Lena continued to work with the scientific team, unlocking more of the artifact's functions. As they delved deeper into the technology's capabilities, they made a startling discovery. "These artifacts," Dennis explained to Admiral Chen during a briefing, "they're not just for genetic manipulation. They have the power to terraform environments on a massive scale." Chen's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. "This could be the solution to environmental crises back on Earth," she mused, "not to mention the possibilities for colonizing other worlds." As news of these developments spread, reactions varied widely. While many embraced the changes with open arms, others viewed them with suspicion and fear. In the Vidian capital, a group of conservative Vidians, led by Councillor Drac, began to voice their concerns. "We cannot allow our pure Vidian culture and biology to be diluted," Drac argued passionately before the High Council. "We must take steps to preserve our genetic heritage." In response to these concerns, The council proposed the creation of designated conservation areas where traditional Vidian biology and culture could be maintained. This compromise helped to alleviate some of the tension, but underlying concerns about the rapid pace of change continued to simmer. As the hybridization process continued, an unexpected development occurred. Among the children born to human Vidian couples, some began to exhibit unique abilities. These children, dubbed the Nexus generation, displayed enhanced telepathic communication and an intuitive understanding of the ancient Vidian technology. Dr. Kira, observing a group of these children as they effortlessly interacted with a complex piece of ancient technology, turned to her colleagues with a look of amazement. "We're witnessing the birth of a new species," she said softly, "one that could change the course of both our civilizations." As word of these enhanced abilities spread, interest in human Vidian pairings surged. Matchmaking services sprang up across the planet, catering to individuals from both species who were eager to produce hybrid offspring. In the midst of these sweeping changes, Dennis and Lena found their bond deepening. Their shared experiences had forged a connection unlike any other, and they had become living symbols of the potential for harmony between humans and Vidians. As they stood together on a balcony overlooking the transformed Vidian landscape, Dennis turned to Lena, his hybrid eyes reflecting the shimmering mist that filled the air. "Look at what we've started," he said softly, gesturing to the bustling city below, where humans and Vidians moved about in perfect harmony. Lena nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "It's beautiful," she replied, "but I can't help but wonder, what challenges lie ahead for our new hybrid civilization?" As if in answer to her question, a sudden surge of energy pulsed through the ancient facility, sending a wave of transformative power washing over the planet. The next phase of their journey was about to begin, and the future of both species hung in the balance. Balance. The shimmering mist intensified, casting an ethereal glow across the transformed landscape. Dennis and Lena exchanged a concerned glance as the ground beneath their feet trembled. The ancient facility's systems pulsed with renewed energy, responding to the planet-wide surge. "We need to get back inside," Dennis said urgently, taking Lena's hand. They rushed towards the facility's entrance, joined by a stream of scientists and researchers responding to the unexpected event. As they entered the central chamber, holographic displays flickered to life, filling the air with swirling data streams. Dr. Zara, her hybrid features accentuated in the pulsing light, was already at work, her fingers flying over the control panels. "The hybridization process is accelerating," she announced, her voice tight with concentration. "The facility seems to be responding to the growing number of hybrid individuals on the planet." Commander Foster strode into the room, his face etched with concern. "We've got incoming transmissions from Earth," he reported. "A team of scientists led by Dr. Marcus Hawthorne is en route to conduct an independent study of the hybridization process." Dennis felt a knot form in his stomach. "Hawthorne, isn't he the one who's been vocal about the dangers of genetic manipulation?" Lena nodded, her brow furrowed. "I've read his papers. He's brilliant, but his views are controversial, to say the least." The arrival of Dr. Hawthorne's team a few days later sent ripples of unease through the Vidian capital. The Earth scientists set up their research facility near the Sacred Grove, their presence a constant reminder of the scrutiny now focused on the hybridization process. Dennis and Lena found themselves at the center of attention once again as Dr. Hawthorne requested genetic samples from hybrid individuals. As they sat in the sterile confines of the Earth scientist's lab, Dennis couldn't shake a feeling of unease. "Dr. Hawthorne," he began, watching as the scientist prepared to take a blood sample, "what exactly are you hoping to find in our genetic makeup?" Hawthorne's eyes gleamed with scientific curiosity. "We're looking at the long-term effects of human Vidician interbreeding on human genetic diversity," he explained. "There are concerns back on Earth about potential unforeseen consequences." Lena tensed beside Dennis. "Consequences? The hybridization process has been nothing but beneficial so far." Hawthorne's expression remained neutral. "That may be true in the short term, but we need to consider the bigger picture. The genetic future of humanity could be at stake." As news of the Earth scientists' concerns spread, tension began to mount in the Vidian capital. Counselor Drac, leader of the conservative Vidian faction, seized upon the growing unease. "See how the humans distrust us," he proclaimed in a fiery speech before the High Council. "They send their scientists to scrutinize our ways, to question the very process that has brought our peoples together." Dennis and Lena found themselves working tirelessly to quell the rising tide of suspicion and fear. They organized meetings between human and Vidian scientists, facilitated cultural exchange programs, and spoke openly about their own experiences as hybrids. Their efforts took on new significance when, during a routine medical examination, Dr. Zara made a startling discovery. "You're pregnant," she announced to Lena, her voice filled with excitement. "And from what I can see, conception occurred much more easily than it typically would for either humans or Vidians." The news spread quickly through the colony, sparking a wave of hope and renewed interest in human-Vidian partnerships. As more hybrid children were born, it became clear that they possessed unique abilities that surpassed those of their parents. Ava, the first of these children, became a symbol of the potential locked within the hybrid genome. At just a few years old, she displayed advanced cognitive abilities and an innate understanding of the ancient Vidian technology that left scientists from both species in awe. As Dennis watched Ava effortlessly interact with a complex piece of Vidian tech, he felt a surge of pride and wonder. "She's the future," he murmured to Lena, who nodded in agreement. Their moment of peace was interrupted by the sudden arrival of Commander Foster, his face grave. "We've got a situation," he announced. "The activation of some newly discovered terraforming technology has destabilized the planet's core. We're experiencing increased seismic activity across the globe." Dennis and Lena exchanged a determined look. They knew their unique connection to the ancient technology might be the key to averting disaster. As they raced towards the central facility, the ground beneath their feet trembled ominously. Inside the facility, chaos reigned as human and Vidian scientists worked frantically to understand and control the ancient systems. Dennis and Lena stepped onto the central platform, feeling the familiar surge of energy as they interfaced with the technology. "We need to find a way to stabilize the core," Lena said, her mind racing through the vast database of information now at her fingertips. Dennis nodded, his hybrid eyes scanning the holographic displays surrounding them. "Look here," he said, pointing to a swirling mass of data. "The Vidian ancestors used this technology to make their world habitable, but it left the core unstable. As they worked to counteract the destabilizing effects, tension continued to mount outside the facility. Dr. Hawthorne's team, alarmed by the seismic activity, intensified their research efforts. Rumors began to circulate that the Earth scientists were planning to sterilize hybrid individuals to prevent further genetic mixing. The unrest that followed threatened to undo all the progress made in human-Vidian relations. As protests erupted in several Vidian cities, Admiral Chen recognized the need for immediate action. "We need to address these concerns head-on," she declared, organizing a public forum to bring together representatives from all factions. As Dennis and Lena took the stage at the forum, they could feel the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. The future of human-Vidian relations hung in the balance, and their words could tip the scales towards harmony or conflict. "We stand before you not just as hybrids," Dennis began, his voice carrying across the hushed crowd, "but as living proof of what our two species can achieve together." Lena stepped forward, her hand resting protectively over her growing belly. "The child we carry represents the future, a future where the strengths of both our peoples are combined, where the barriers that once divided us are broken down." As they spoke, sharing their experiences and the incredible potential they had witnessed in the Nexus generation, they could see the tension in the crowd begin to ease. Faces that had been etched with suspicion and fear now showed glimmers of hope and understanding. But even as they made progress in easing social tensions, the geological crisis continued to loom. The ancient facility hummed with energy as Dennis and Lena worked tirelessly alongside the scientific team to stabilize the planet's core. As they delved deeper into the intricacies of the terraforming technology, they uncovered layers of complexity that hinted at the true scope of the ancient Vidians' achievements. Each new discovery brought them closer to a solution, but also revealed the extent of the challenge they faced. The fate of the Vidian world hung in the balance, caught between the promise of a hybrid future and the perils of ancient technology. As Dennis and Lena raced against time to save their adopted home, they knew that their actions would shape not just their own lives, but the future of two civilizations and perhaps the entire galaxy. Galaxy. As Dennis and Lena grappled with the twin challenges of stabilizing the planet and easing social tensions, a new development arose that would change everything. A sleek silver spacecraft descended from the sky, touching down on the outskirts of the Vidian capital. The arrival of the Galactic Council delegation had been expected, but its timing couldn't have been more precarious. As the delegation disembarked, led by the imposing figure of Ambassador Zarlath, Dennis and Lena exchanged worried glances. They knew that the Council's assessment of the human Vidian experiment would have far-reaching consequences for both species. Before they could greet the delegation, Lena doubled over, clutching her swollen belly. "Dennis," she gasped, "it's time!" The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. As Lena was rushed to the medical facility, Dennis found himself torn between his duty to his wife and the pressing need to address the Galactic Council delegation. Commander Foster stepped in, assuring Dennis that he would handle the initial diplomatic protocols. "Go," he urged. "Your place is with Lena." In the sterile confines of the medical bay, Dennis held Lena's hand as she pushed through the final stages of labor. Dr. Zara, her hybrid features, accentuated by the intensity of the moment, guided them through the process. With a final, powerful effort, Lena gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. As the newborn's cries filled the room, something extraordinary happened. The lights flickered, and a wave of energy pulsed through the facility. Dr. Zara's eyes widened in amazement. "Incredible," she breathed. "Her neural activity is off the charts." Dennis cradled his daughter, marveling at her delicate features, a perfect blend of human and Vidian traits. "Welcome to the world, Luna," he whispered. As if in response to her name, Luna opened her eyes, revealing irises that shimmered with an otherworldly light. In that moment, Dennis felt a connection to his daughter that transcended the physical, a telepathic bond that left him breathless. Their moment of peace was short-lived. An alarm blared through the facility, and Commander Foster's voice crackled over the intercom. "Dennis, Lena, we need you at the Sacred Grove immediately. Something's happening with the terraforming system." Reluctantly leaving Luna in Dr. Zara's care, Dennis and Lena rushed to the ancient Vidian facility. As they approached, they saw the ground pulsing with energy, waves of light rippling across the landscape. The Galactic Council delegation stood at the edge of the grove, their alien features a mix of concern and fascination. Ambassador Zarlath turned to Dennis and Lena as they arrived. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. Before they could respond, a surge of energy erupted from the heart of the grove. The pulse swept across the planet, enveloping every inhabitant in a soft golden light. Dennis and Lena watched in awe as their own bodies shimmered, feeling the changes ripple through them at a cellular level. As the light faded, gasps of surprise echoed across the assembled crowd. Humans and Vidians alike found themselves transformed, their features now a harmonious blend of both species. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Zara appeared, cradling Luna in her arms. "It's her!" she exclaimed. "Somehow Luna is controlling the terraforming system. Her unique genetic makeup has unlocked its full potential." Dennis and Lena shared a look of understanding. Without a word, they knew what they had to do. Taking Luna from Dr. Zara, they made their way to the heart of the bioengineering facility. As they connected Luna to the central control system, her tiny body glowed with an inner light. The facility hummed to life, responding to Luna's innate connection to the ancient technology. A final burst of energy enveloped the planet, more powerful than before. When it subsided, the transformation was complete. The landscape had shifted, becoming a perfect blend of Earth-like and Vidian environments. Ambassador Zarlath approached Dennis and Lena, his expression one of wonder. "In all my years," he said, "I have never witnessed anything like this. The level of species integration and technological mastery you have achieved is unprecedented." With a formal bow, the ambassador extended an invitation that would change the course of their civilization. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I invite your people, this new hybrid species, to join us as full members. The potential benefits you could bring to our community are immeasurable. As word of their invitation spread, a wave of excitement swept through the newly transformed population. The completion of Nexus Prime took on a new urgency, as it would now serve as the capital of their hybrid civilization. In the days that followed, Dennis and Lena found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. They worked tirelessly to help their people adjust to their new hybrid forms and to prepare for their role in the galactic community. Even Dr. Hawthorne and Counselor Drack, once vocal opponents of the hybridization process, came to embrace the changes. The undeniable benefits of their new form and the potential for advancement within the galactic community swayed even the most conservative factions. As news of the extraordinary events on the Vidian world spread across the galaxy, interest from other species began to pour in. Requests for cultural exchanges and genetic sharing flooded the newly established diplomatic channels of the Nexus Collective, as their civilization came to be known. Standing on the balcony of their new home in Nexus Prime, Dennis and Lena looked out over the bustling city. Luna, now a toddler, played at their feet, her laughter a reminder of the miraculous journey that had brought them to this point. "It's hard to believe," Lena said softly, "that all of this started with a simple diplomatic mission." Dennis nodded, his hybrid eyes reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. "And now, we're about to embark on an even greater adventure, introducing our people to the galactic community." As if on cue, Luna tugged at her father's hand, pointing to the sky where the first stars were beginning to appear. Dennis lifted her into his arms, and together with Lena, they gazed up at the vast expanse of space that awaited them. The family made their way down to the central plaza, where a crowd had gathered for the evening's ceremony. As they walked, Dennis couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. The scene before them, a harmonious blend of human and Vidian architecture, filled with their hybrid citizens, was a testament to the power of understanding and unity between different species. As they approached the ancient Vidian facility, now repurposed as a center for galactic cooperation and scientific advancement, Dennis felt a surge of pride and anticipation. The challenges they had faced, the obstacles they had overcome, all of it had led to this moment. The facility's doors slid open, revealing a glimpse of the advanced technology within. As Dennis, Lena, and Luna stepped inside, ready to help guide their people into a new era of galactic cooperation, they knew that their journey was just getting started. In fact, it was only just beginning.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.